Alright, today we're having a look at Lightbringer by Trindall. Alright, so here we are in Lightbringer by Trindall. Oh. Hello? Was that supposed to happen? Did we? What? What? Wait, what? Wait, no, what's going on? Oh my god, we're supposed to go the other way! Okay, that feels a little bit unfair. I mean, the camera is pointing us. I'm the end of the living and eater of the land. I just want to get this checkpoint. I destroy all as my nature, only the hero can proceed to challenge my dominion. Alright, well, I'm gonna mess your stuff up. That's clearly what's going on here. Oh, hey, neat. What? 3 suns carried in the Lightbringer's grasp, the hour of alignment to burn the night, come the Lightbringer forth the light. Alright, right, I mean, cool. I'm so confused. I just wanted to look at a Trindall level. I was thinking of doing Heart of the Flip Side, but I've looked at that like on shows before many times, so I thought we would try to find something else from Trindall, because Heart of the Flip Side is fabulous, though. Is absolutely fabulous. Are you gonna, do you do a thing? What? No, okay, okay, that came down. Good for us. Good. I am so confused, folks. I'm so confused. It's not even like first thing in the morning, so I have no excuse. Okay. Are there grabby bits? There is a thing up there. That looks grabby. I'm grabby. Okay, but I wonder if there's some lighting issues going on, because sometimes there do be that in LBP1 levels. Nice catch. Nisco, you are on fuego. Oh my god, what? Yo, don't make me go back through that. Look, we're gonna spend like the whole 3 minutes in this opening section, and I am so sorry. I wish we were going a little bit quicker, but this is the way it be sometimes. It do be this way. That's okay, you know? That's okay. I like all the little bits that are coming together, though. I think they are pretty gosh darn neat. Does that grab? Like, oh wait, a door opened. Okay, go through the door. Nisco, get up there. You only got so much time, and that's not very much. Wait, that's how we came in. Yo, a little bit of direction would be great. I would love a little bit of direction. Have we like opened up something else? What the heck? What the hey? Is this open over here? No. Although there is a lot of logic. Trindall, one of the reasons I wanted to take a look at Trindall's levels, because Trindall's got a lot going on in the logic department, which is fairly surprising for LBP1. Oh my god, it's already 3 minutes? We have gotten nothing accomplished. I am so sorry. Yo, but can I just want to grab, what is with you? Let me just do this. Okay, cool. We're gonna have to go back to the hub. It was really quick, it feels like, but we'll see you there. See yas! And we're back, and Lightbringer by Trindall, and I'd say it's a very solid yellow square. I had a great time with this level. There are a few issues that I feel both in translation from LBP1 and LBP3, but also native to the level itself, that it does bring it down a little bit, but I think it's a really great level and a really great example of, you know, how people were building in LBP1, that, you know, even with the limited tool set that we had, that folks were still pushing that tool set pretty hard and trying to do some pretty interesting things with it. And Trindall's an interesting creator for that. A lot of work that they've done with, you know, getting the tools that we had to do some pretty big stuff we'll talk about later in the level. But, you know, what we've got in this one is basically kind of an explorer, puzzler, platformer type of deal, where as the story tells us, and a dark god has descended on the land, could only be defeated by the hero, but the hero never showed up, so the dark god, the darkness just like basically destroyed everything, and now is pretty unhappy about that, and has been, you know, ruling over this empty land for basically ever. And then you show up from where? I have no idea, and the darkness is like, could you kill me? I don't think that you've got the chops to do it, but could you do it? It's my time. I'm ready to go. And that is, if that's not a whole mood in the Year of Our Dark Lord 2023, I don't know what is. Now, I feel like that could have been played for laughs as kind of a jokey thing, and that's not really the tone I think that the level is going for, and I think it's better for it. I know that it's kind of hard to get pathos from LBP because of just the way the presentation is and how like sweet this acting tends to look, but going with a more humorous tone for this level, and I think that it would have really drawn away from the rest of the presentation, which is for the most part pretty great. We've got this really spacious, fantasy castle-y after the apocalypse type of environment. Everything is crumbling. The material choices I thought were really solid on throughout the level. There's not like a huge amount of decoration, but what we've got I think does help give us a sense of place, and it's all like really, really well done. I definitely appreciated the like gross presentation of the level in the shaping the building and the material choices. Some of the camera choices I did feel made it a little bit more difficult to kind of figure out where you're supposed to be going. There's not a lot of presented progress. There's not a lot of presented direction, I feel like, in the level. Now, for this type of level, that's not such a bad thing because you're not expected to be moving at this quick pace, this quick momentum, and like always going forward like you would in a more gameplay heavy platformer. So like it's not generally a problem, but we did see it come up at the beginning of the level where the framing of that shot so directs the player to be moving left and to think that like, well, maybe the level is over this water area and we just got to kind of swim across to get where we're supposed to be going. And in fact, like if you try to do that, you end up getting yourself detonated, and we almost died right out of the level. I feel like maybe pulling the camera back just a little bit so that it would show us like on the right side that there was in fact more there that we were supposed to be going to would have probably helped out an awful lot. One little thing I wanted to mention, a cute little technique that we saw. Now, we didn't have opacity tweakers in the old days, so if you wanted to have like a fourth wall, a wall between the player and the actual environment, but then they were going to be going into an area like into a house or something like that, you had to get rid of that wall, and there are two general techniques that we would use to do that. You could either have the wall be made out of dissolved material and it would be destroyed as soon as the player walked in and then re-emitted when the player walked out, or you could put it on a super fast piston like you see here. It's not like neither of those techniques really work from a presentation standpoint. Like they accomplish what they're trying to do, but they don't look particularly nice. But it is cute to see them in play, and we do see it in play here. One issue that I did find with the level, kind of sticking with this presentation, but as it kind of blends into gameplay, is the use of horrible gas as a hazard. Now, it makes a lot of sense because the horrible gas is representing the darkness, and to kind of have that vague and wispy feel of like a living darkness in the area, like it works from that standpoint. It works from a story standpoint, and that's great. But I've always found that horrible gas has got a horrible hurt box, and it's really, really hard for me to tell like how close am I supposed to be to the horrible gas? Is the horrible gas like actually moving? Because some of the gas is on pistons in this area, and you'll need to be going through gaps to get through it. And is this gap like a static gap that I can take my time with, or do I need to rush? And that was a little bit hard to tell. Now, in some of those areas, there were like tags, magnetic tags on there because of the way that LBP1 didn't make the LBP3 doesn't make LBP1 tags invisible all the time, even if they had been set to invisible. So like you could at least track the tag and see, oh, the tag is moving, so I know what's going on there. But yeah, I did struggle a bit with the horrible gas. Never really been a super big fan of that as a hazard. Now, mechanically, and I think the level does really great here in showing the way that the light is actually being directed throughout the level. There are some points, because of the way that LBP3 handles lighting and changes to lighting between 1 and 3, that it did make it a little bit difficult to notice, but in the areas, like, once you realize what's going on and you can see, oh yeah, there's actually like a beam of light here, and I am moving that along to push away the gas, and like, it's a really cool effect. It's a really neat effect. I did appreciate that is like, it's all cosmetic. Like, the actual logic is being triggered off screen somewhere, so even if it's not like perfect, or you can't quite see it very well, like, as long as you've got the crystal in place the way that it's supposed to be, it's going to trigger the effect that's going to happen. I was afraid that it was going to be like the mirror puzzle in Resident Evil 5, where like you've actually got to move the mirrors to get them pointed in the right direction, and that because it's hard to see the beam of light sometimes that would be an issue for us, but thankfully it wasn't an issue. Now, because all of this stuff, it is physical objects, it is mechanical objects, and they are like set up with connectors like winches and pistons, and it could make things a little difficult to move, and I found it a little bit frustrating at times. There's one bit in particular, like about midpoint through the level, where you're pulling this crystal, and you've got like a box attached to a chain that's, because the crystal itself's not grabbable, and you're going to be dragging on that box to get the crystal in place so that it will move the light to where it needs to be, and like, it's so slow. Like, it feels like you're pulling a rock, and it takes forever. And I kept on like, I wasn't sure, like, am I supposed to let go of this and kind of let it reset and start pulling it again? Because it drags on that section. And I don't know if maybe the winch strength should have been put a little bit weaker so that it pulls a little bit easier. We couldn't use like a physics tweaker to make the object itself lighter, which is possibly part of the issue that's going on here, that the material to build the crystal was kind of a heavy material, but I did find that section to be a little bit frustrating and took a lot longer, I felt like, than I needed to. And because it was so slow, like, when you pull it into the place where it's supposed to go, and it's like right on the edge of a field of horrible gas, and like, I wasn't sure if I had pulled it far enough, and I kept on pulling it so that I actually fell into the gas, which meant that I didn't see what it was actually triggering, which was like a bit of a pain. Like, I don't know if there was an easier way to set that up, but I feel like maybe something should have been tried. Eventually we'll get along to the boss, and the boss is like, it's a really neat boss, and I kind of appreciated what was going on there. I really liked the movement and the animation of the boss. I thought that was all really, really cool, but it is one part of the level where the physics of the level can actually end up bricking it for you, and I do think that's a big problem. You're going to be moving this pillar along. You've got to move it to 3 points, one on the left, one on the right, and one on the middle. Now, when you're pulling it, and it's just like, it's so slow to pull, but when you let go of it to kind of avoid the boss's attacks, it's dropping these horrible gas things on you, it moves back to position like really, really quickly, which is kind of frustrating. But the first time that I did that boss, and I pulled it all the way over to the left spot, and there's like a little, like a shelf that you're pulling it under so that it'll like lock into place for a little bit, and it'll do the light trick, and it'll knock off like a third of the boss's health bar, so to speak, even though you can't see the health bar. And the first time I played, it got stuck there. And I didn't know what was going on. Like, I didn't know if there was going to be another thing that was going to appear, like be emitted, so that I could pull that, or like if I was supposed to get it out from that section. It's supposed to naturally, revert back into place a little bit so that you can start pulling it back towards the right, but it just hadn't done that. And I think that if you didn't know that it could get stuck, and that it could work, if you try it again, you might just bounce out of the level and never come back into it and be like, well, I guess it's just broken. And it was for that run. Bad luck to you. It kind of sucks. But when I played it through, well, I tried playing it through the second time, and the level didn't load. It just gave me a fail to load. So I tried it the third time. The third time, everything went smoothly. I was able to beat the boss, and that was all really cool. But it does bring us to like the final, I think, negative point of the level, and it was that there's no real like denouement to the level. The scoreboard is right next to where you fight the boss. The boss is like, oh, I'm finally free, and whatever, does its little departure. The screen shakes. It was a really cool scene, and then like you just walk over 2 feet and there's a scoreboard. And I feel like, now I imagine that this was probably pretty heavy on the thermo by this point, so maybe didn't have a lot of space to give a little bit of a walking section to get to that, but to have the scoreboard so close to the end of the boss, and there's like, it just feels like there's no cooldown there, and it just gives the kind of a weird feeling to end on that point, but it may not have been something that Trindall could have, you know, done anything about, because of how big the level already was at that point. Now, I did mention in the first impression section that I'd wanted to play this level because I had played Trindall ages ago, like long time ago. I'd played their level Heart of the Flip Side, and I fell in love with the level. It is such a neat little bit of kit where the whole thing is like, it's a circle that's cut into quarters, basically, and you've got to rotate this massive circle with all the platforming elements on the circle, and they shift. You know, some of them are on like motor bolts or hanging from strings so that they're in a different position when you rotate 90 degrees. And so you've got like a slightly different experience when you're going through it in the rotated form than the first form that you got it to. And it was like, it's so cool. And the first time that I played it, I was like, oh my gosh, it just completely knocked my socks off. And then I kind of let it aside, and I didn't follow Trindall's progress as a creator, which is something I did a lot. I'm kind of not ashamed of, but a little bit disappointed that I didn't follow some of the creators that I really I enjoyed their work in the past, but I did come back to it like years later to look at it on LittleBigPlanet in the before, which is why that episode doesn't exist anymore. And that time I managed to make it into the dev room, and I was so impressed because I had an idea of how LBP1 logic was handled. You know, I'd see people talk about it on message boards and on forums, and I had done a little bit of trial and error with myself doing like mechanical logic where I'd have rotating bits with magnetic keys and magnetic key sensors, and when it rotated enough that the key would meet the sensor and something would, so kind of as a basic timer, a basic sequencer type of deal. And like I knew that it was hard, I knew that it could be involved, but seeing the work that Trindall did in the dev room, seeing how like all of this was put together and making it like work with physical objects, it just absolutely knocked my socks off. It was so cool. But I played that level like a number of times off stream. I played it a number of times just for myself, and I wanted to look at something different from Trindall for this level, and that brought us to Lightbringer. I think it's a great level. I had a really good time with it. It is at times frustrating, like I said, but you know, them's the breaks sometimes. If you do get to the final boss and it does soft lock for you, I understand if you wouldn't want to go back into the level and try it over again. It's kind of a big ask. My third playthrough, when I actually got it successfully, and the entire level took like about 17 minutes, but that was like me knowing exactly what I was supposed to be doing. It's like a big level, and you're doing a lot of running around of space in that level, and it does take a fair amount of time. I encourage you to give it a second shot and just beat it and get your name on the scoreboard and see how you do, but if you don't, like, no, I totally dig it, but at least give it the one try, because I do think it is super worth playing. Trindall, I doubt that you're going to see this video, but I want to thank you. You're one of the reasons that I stuck around with LBP. You're a creator that was an inspiration to me, and I just had a really great time with your work. But that pretty much does it for us here this go about. Finally got the clock working, that's amazing. That does it for us here this go about. So from me, Bisco, here in Tokyo, to all of you out there, wherever you may happen to be, thank you, arigato, sayonara, see you, and ciao.